Hello, welcome to Anderson Community Television. I'm Carol Donahue, your host today of a special program which we're highlighting a major event in Anderson Township. That event is called Heritage Days. And to help me highlight this program that's coming up, I have three very important people here with me today, and I'm going to pass the information on to them so that they can introduce themselves to you.
I'm Sheila Kendall, and I'm the Daughters of American Revolution, and I'm also American Auxiliary, and I work with the Post 318 of their Friends of the Legion.
And what is your Indian name?
Sheila Three Feathers.
And then we have sitting next to Sheila, a very famous person.
My name is Patrick Henry, a five-time governor of Virginia, and my name is actually, in this century's name, is Tony Steer, who I interpret Patrick Henry, and I hope all you Virginians out there remain loyal to our cause.
And Patrick, who is this lovely lady sitting next to you?
This is my bride, Dolly Dandridge Henry, and she's a loyal Virginian. She comes from a good Virginia family.
Is that true, Dolly?
I think it is true, yes.
Great. Sheila, why don't we ask you, is this the first year for Heritage Festival?
It's the first year for the Post to have Heritage Days. We're reenacting family, all of us, and we've worked at the Christian Walchman Homestead, and it also became the Camp Dennison of Civil War time, and we do our reenacting and storytelling out there.
Now, for those of us who've never been there, is that set up like an American early village?
It's the original homestead is still standing. It's stone. The Walchmans built the house when they come there and raised their family. And one of the daughters married, and the father, Christian, built a house for her, and she had her children. And then after they'd grown and passed, and then it became the Civil War encampment and hospital for the entire Camp Dennison. That's how it came about. And so then the Daughters of the American Revolution purchased it and restored it. And now it's owned and operated by the Ohio Daughters.
What credentials does one have to be a daughter?
You have to be Revolutionary War connected with a grandfather, someone even just maybe tributed to the time of being a soldier, and just be able to trace your history back, and then you can be a daughter.
And how long have you had that honor?
This is my third year.
I see. Well, tell us a little bit about the Indian presence there.
The Indians were there. It's several tribes. Shawnee was one of them, and that is my heritage. They traded with the Walchmans. But there's several other tribes, the Delaware and Wyandots, Mingles, that traveled the Miami River. And that's where Christian built his house along the Miami River. So that's how they came about there. But as Civil War time came about, then all of the Indians were pretty much run out.
So then that's when they drifted towards the reservation?
Yes, yes.
I see. And the Shawnee then relocated out west also?
Yes, they did.
Now, what areas did they relocate to?
Oh, shoot.
Was it the Kansas area maybe, or?
I'm thinking it's Kansas,
Kansas,
yeah.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Okay.
A group of them joined with the Shawnee, and they've recently became the Shawnee and the Cherokee Nation family. But for the most part, they went that far.
You know, we've all seen so many movies where the settlers are fighting the Indians, and that's sort of become ingrained as is that really the way it was, or was there more of a partnership?
Well, there was with the Cherokee there was. They became brothers. The famous Tecumseh tried to unite all of the nations together, but his brother wouldn't see it that way. So,
And his brother was,
oh shoot,
The prophet.
the prophet.
I see.
But he wouldn't see it that way. So they pretty much stayed as independent, tribes, but he had the right idea.
He did, he did. Now, this gentleman next to you. Now, we all know your most famous quote, but tell us a little bit that we don't know about Patrick Henry.
Well, Patrick Henry was not a politician, but a statesman, and there is a difference. He put the interest of the country, his country of Virginia, ahead of his own personal interests. Just as when the states of Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, all of that was Virginia's by charter. And Patrick Henry's stock company, they had an 800,000 acre land grant near the confluence of the Ohio and the Mississippi. However, in 1781, he led a movement to give that country, all those states I'm telling you about, to the Confederacy of States, with the proviso that each one be divided into a state 100 by 150 miles, as we didn't want a bunch of small Rhode Island-ish type states, and that a portion of each of those designated states be set aside to pay our veterans of the American Revolution who bore the brunt of our contest with Britain. And so his land grant was then nullified by that donation of all that land.
Now, going back a little further, Patrick, when were you born?
I was born May 29th, 1736, Old Style. And you may ask what Old Style is. You see, in 1752, we lost 11 days because we changed our calendar. The British didn't like Pope Gregory. The Gregorian calendar was named after him, and they went by the Julian calendar, which was named after Julius Caesar. Can you imagine the difficulty in commercial deliveries and
Oh, yes.
commerce? People have trouble when there's a 1 hour change, much less 11 days.
Right.
So at one point in 1752, it was decided by Parliament that England and its colonies in North America should come to the same timetable as Europe. And that's when we switched. And that Old Style meant the calendar that was the Julian calendar. In 1752, we changed to the Gregorian calendar.
And how long were you in public life? Your entire life?
Well, from the time, my 29th birthday was known as the Stamp Act Resolves. That's the day I gave the Stamp Act Resolves, which was resistance to the Stamp Act, which our friends in Boston had been waiting so long for Virginia to make a stand. And at that point, before that, I was an attorney. I'd failed in business several times, and I took up the practice of law. I had to borrow 2 books, and it took me all of 12 weeks to study law. Unlike Mr. Jefferson, who spent years and years, but I beat Jefferson the first time we met in court as opponents on a case.
Good for you, Patrick.
In only 12 weeks. So.
Now, were you a signer of the Declaration of Independence?
No, I would. Interesting that you should bring that up.
Was that a sore spot?
No, I would have definitely signed the Declaration of Independence had I been in Philadelphia. Unfortunately, I had other work to do. I was busy being governor of Virginia at the time. Several good men did not sign that declaration. General Washington being one, And my friend George Mason, who wrote the Virginia Declaration of Rights with myself, didn't sign it either, and all of us would have. But
So-
we were busy doing other things.
So you think Thomas Jefferson was doing a little grandstanding? I mean,
No,
No?
Jefferson's a good man.
Was, okay.
Jefferson is a fine man. I put him on the same level as quite possibly Leonardo da Vinci.
truly.
The man's a genius. He could he could do architecture, he could do botany, he could do medicine, he could predict an eclipse. I can't do half those things. Jefferson is.
Jefferson was. Well, might I ask who this lovely woman is next to you again? Who is this? Let's see what she was doing with her time while you were out
Well,
being a
that's a
statesman.
good question.
Well, I will answer that question. I love my husband very much, but I leave him to his own affairs. Because quite honestly, I don't have time.
Now, why not?
Well, we have 17 children,
Really?
really,
Really?
really. Right?
And they called George Washington the father of his country.
They missed it. Now, did any of your children follow you into politics and into being a statesman?
No, none of them did. But I certainly have a lot of descendants all over. They tell me 50 states. Oh my goodness. Well, it certainly has expanded since I've been gone. But yes, I have descendants all over. And I had a head start with 17 children, of course.
Now, did you have any help with the 17 children?
Not a whole lot of help, occasionally here and there. I must be honest, though, and tell you that all 17 were not my children. I did not bear all 17. He was married to a woman named Sarah before he was married to me, and unfortunately she died. So I have a hard time remembering how many. Was it 6 and 7?
It was, well, I had
No,
six
no,
children
6
with
and-
Sarah, and of course 11 with you.
That's right. That's right.
My goodness. What was the most memorable event in your public life?
In mine?
Yes.
Oh, well, I suppose it was that famous speech in Richmond where I alerted Virginia to be put on a war footing. It didn't take a prophet to see that the king did not mean for reconciliation. Why, he had armies and navies in Boston, all over, and those are not the tools of reconciliation. Those are the tools of subjugation.
I see. Is that when did you make your most famous speech?
Well, that was done in Richmond on March 23rd, 1775.
And like I don't know, tell us that line.
To give me liberty or give me death. That's funny. You should hear. I gave that speech. It was only 13 minutes long, and I gave it extemporaneously.
And
As
you
a
did
matter of
great
fact, I
job.
don't even know that I could repeat it word for word, as I gave it off the top of my head. Politicians give speeches with notes. Statesmen speak from the heart.
Well said. Well said. Now, in real life, in 21st century life, you are,
Oh, I am Tony Steer.
and you are.
I am Marty Steer.
So you're married in this life again. How
Yes.
wonderful is that? But you don't have 17 children, I hope.
Oh, no.
So the three of you are going to be at Heritage Days. We will see you walking around. We can come up and ask you questions, and you're just a font of knowledge.
Please do.
Anything you would like to know, I would be wide open for discussion.
So to Three Feathers and to the Henrys, I say thank you, and we will be right back. Please stay with us as we prepare for part 2. Thank you. Hello, and welcome back to our program. And I have 4 more guests for you to meet. and I'm going to have each of them introduce themselves and tell us what part they will be playing in Heritage Days. Let's start with you.
I'm Denise Waterman, and today I'm portraying Molly Pitcher, but at the Heritage Days I will be portraying Dolly Madison.
I see. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Margaret Simpson. I am Second Vice Commander of American Legion Post 318 in Anderson Township. I'm also a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution. I portray a Civil War nurse, not any particular nurse, as there were several. I do give a presentation on like Clara Barton, Dorothea Dix, and some of our lesser known, Mary Walker, and some doctors, Dr. Elizabeth Blackwell. All during the Civil War period. And this will be the first year that Post 318 is hosting this event. It had been held previously at the Waldschmidt House, but we have quite an array of reenactors coming. I mean, this is just a handful here. We have the French and, someone from the French and Indian Wars. We have someone from the War of 1812. We have Civil War reenactors. We will have the Tuskegee Airmen. Just some dulcimer players, a beekeeper. It's just a great educational experience. You have all this living history, and that'll be going on July 6th at the American Legion Post 318 on Clough Pike.
What an event. That's
Yes.
great. Sir?
I'm Jerry Hounshell, 30-year resident of the city of Montgomery. I am a gun captain of a cannon crew. That's a part of the General Richard Montgomery Color Guard that supports the activities of the American Spirit Education Alliance and many other organizations. I belong to the National Muzzleloader Rifle Association, the NRA, the American Legion, and I could go on for half an hour. But my reason for belonging to these organizations is to support them and gives me an opportunity to tell about American history. The history, the things you do not know, the things you weren't taught.
And I believe you were the one that brought the cannon for us today.
That is correct. We have with us a 3-pounder. It's called a grasshopper cannon. And a grasshopper, for an obvious reason, when you see it fired with a full load, because it leaps backward like a grasshopper. The cannon has particular significance with the General Richard Montgomery Color Guard. For those who do not know and those who would like to be refreshed here, General Richard Montgomery led an army into Quebec in 1775 with the hopes of bringing the Revolutionary War to a quick close, not even let it get started. He was successful in several of the battles that he fought. Montreal was one, St. John's another, but when he got to the city of Quebec, he found the French rather stubborn. And they were backed, of course, by British troops. And the significance of the 3-pounder is it is the cannon that was fired. And General Montgomery insisted on leading his troops, and it cost him his life. A 3-pounder took his life.
I see.
So to commemorate him and to tell about this history of the possibility of Quebec becoming the 4th colony. Surprising how many people do not know that Quebec could have become the 4th colony. My wife would have been very unhappy because her ancestors are from there. So.
You could be speaking a little French too, then.
Oh, indeed she does.
Yeah.
Indeed she does.
How many of those types of cannons were there during the war?
Basically, 3 types of cannon. One is it's called the mortar, which is really just roughly, in that time period, just a small tub that you put powder in, and a ball, and lit a fuse, and fired. It was meant to fire over escapements and walls inside a fort. The second type is called the howitzer, which is more of a weapon directed toward infantry, which is what the 3-pounder is about. And then there is the gun, and it is the assault gun, the one that you use against the barricades and the stone walls and so on. So essentially there's those 3.
I see now we have a 4th person back here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Rich Piper. I'm a member of the American Spirit Education Alliance. I'm also a co-director and the treasurer. Today I'm portraying Drummond Smithson, who was actually my 6th generation great-grandfather.
Oh.
And he fought in Virginia. I'm also a member of the General Montgomery Cannon Crew. We trained in Friendship, Indiana on how to operate and safely operate a cannon. And also a member of the General Montgomery Color Guard. And I'm also a member of the Color Guard for the American Spirit Education Alliance. And in the American Spirit Education Alliance, I portray James Madison.
And then you portray Mrs. Madison.
Yes.
I see. And you will be portraying the Madisons at Heritage Days.
We'll be promoting the American Heritage Days. Yes, ma'am.
Now, going back to your ancestors, so you would have been working with the same equipment that General Montgomery used?
Yes, ma'am. I trained on the Grasshopper and the 6-pound cannon. Did not train on the howitzer. That was in a different field.
What a blessing to have someone connected with it that actually was a descendant. That's
Yes, ma'am.
great. That is great. Well, tell us a little bit about the American Spirit Education Alliance. What actually is that?
American Spirit Education Alliance is a group of 13 of us, and we promote education about the Revolutionary Days, about the Founding Fathers, and about the Bill of Rights, because it is history that is not well taught today, and that's our mission, is to get the word out on the history of the United States.
So do you go to schools or do you?
We go to schools, we go to Boy Scouts, we have our own Patriot Fair in the fall every year. We also go to libraries and private schools.
I see, I see. So this is a great partnership then with the Daughters of the American Revolution and Post 318. You all really work well together. What is your background in 20th century life? You're not a nurse, are you?
I am a nurse.
Oh, you are a
Yes.
nurse. Well, then
Yes,
it
ma'am.
comes to you
Yes.
quite well.
And I've been a hospital corpsman in the United States Navy for 23 years.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
And let's see, now you're involved also with the Alliance, correct?
I am. Not just the Alliance, as I mentioned, several organizations. I own a small company. It's more of a hobby. I call it my company, Period Long Rifles. And I make the rifles. I made one for Mr. Patrick Henry here. I make one or two a year. Not a rush job at all. And I got into making the weapons because in my genealogy research, I found that I have an ancestor, a Messerschmitt, who in 1780 made long rifles in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, when he wasn't guarding Hessian captives, soldiers. He was making rifles. And it's how I explained to my wife that at 4 a.m. in the morning, the DNA takes over and there's nothing I can do. I go to my shop and I make rifles, you know.
So we know where to look for you when you can't sleep.
Right.
Wow. Now your involvement too, that's very interesting. You actually portray two different characters.
Well, today's the first time I've portrayed Molly Pitcher. And I'd like to explain that Molly Pitcher was not just one person. It was more of a generic term for the women who assisted the soldiers during battle by bringing water to cool the cannons or bringing water, of course, to help the soldiers quench their thirst during the battle. I'm portraying a particular Molly Pitcher today, Mary Ludwig Hayes, and she went with her husband into battle, and she helped with the cannons, and she was particularly heroic during the Battle of Monmouth when it was extremely hot and the soldiers were dropping over from heat exhaustion. And when her husband dropped over, she stepped up and took his place at the cannon and continued through the rest of the battle doing his job at the cannon. She is, considered very heroic, and she actually got a pension from the government for her service.
Really?
And was promoted to sergeant.
That's great. She was sort of a forerunner of the women involvement in the military.
Yes.
Exactly.
And then, of course, I've been portraying Dolly Madison for about 3 years now. Mostly because when we formed American Spirit Education Alliance, our main focus was to teach about the Constitution and our other founding documents and, kind of foster a respect and appreciation for those documents and the men that composed them. And in doing so, we found a lot of avenues to get out there and teach about our founding history. And since then, we've expanded, to Civil War and on. But we found that the Patriot Fair that we have, will be our third Patriot Fair coming up in September on the 28th at
Now,
the
where will
Mason
that be?
Municipal Center
Mason,
in
okay.
Mason, Ohio. Yes. This is an opportunity to bring together reenactors. People can come and actually meet Patrick Henry or Abraham Lincoln and talk to them. They can see artisans doing their craft in the way they would have done it in the 18th century. They can meet people from different military organizations. They can meet soldiers from different wars all through our history. They can enjoy some period entertainment. And we have Native American dancers who do dancing and singing, and they get the audience to participate in the fun. So there's just a lot there, a lot of learning experiences, but we kind of sneak it in a way that, it's fun, and people don't realize they're there just for education.
You get to sneak that. That's an extra
Yeah.
benefit.
This time we'll have a treasure hunt for the kids. Last year we had a spy game for the kids. This year it'll be a treasure hunt, because our subtitle this year, or our theme this year, is Rediscovering American Treasures. And so we are going to focus on the things that make America great, and on the values and the principles that make this country great.
I think this would be a wonderful opportunity for grandparents to take the grandkids to both events. And just so the kids can see what it was really like, and you all do such a great job. Well, tell us a little bit more, too. I'm happy to see that Post 318 moved into their new quarters. It looks very warm and inviting, and you're going to be having different events there, correct?
Yes, we do. We already hold bingo on Sunday evenings. We've had a series of mystery murder dinners. We're going to start up some pancake breakfasts. It'll be open to the public. Anybody can come down for those. Of course, we support veterans organizations, Boys and Girls State. We're very involved with the school systems here in Anderson Township. We have scholarships to seniors at Anderson, Turpin, and McNick. We do a lot of school programs at Sherwood Elementary and Mercer and I believe Summit. We do flag etiquette. So we're very, very involved within the community. And like I said, we're very happy to host our first Heritage Days. It's such a great educational experience. But yes, we are a new post. We can accommodate for hall rentals. I believe it's the largest in Anderson Township. We can accommodate up to 275 people.
And this is another thing, too. This is, all your organizations are nonprofit.
Correct.
Correct. What strikes you the most important thing that you do for the organization?
I believe, again, I talk a great deal about the General Richard Montgomery Color Guard, and I believe it's the teaching at the level to children, to the folks that I build the weapons for, and teaching them the technology, the actual limitations on technology to construct rifles. I tell them about in detail about the difference between a rifle and a smoothbore musket, the application of those weapons, how they dictated, how they, the nature of warfare, how they, which particular weapons resolved or won actually can be credited with toward winning battles like the Second Battle of Saratoga. There's a wonderful story there of a sharpshooter Tim Murphy, who at the behest no less than of Colonel Arnold, Benedict Arnold, who spoke to Tim's commander and says, "Have your best sharpshooter climb that tree. See that man on the horse? He is a force unto himself. Dispatch that man." It was General Fraser of General Burgoyne's army. They were, in a sense, they were invading from Canada. This was a year or so following the invasion of Montgomery into Quebec, which failed. This was Burgoyne marching from Canada down Lake Champlain, and he was hoping to end the war immediately. And the rifle and Tim Murphy so demoralized the forces of General Burgoyne that they were defeated there. And the French then entered the war. They saw an opportunity to make up for some losses in the French and Indian War. And you get this opportunity to tell these things. I was speaking a few minutes ago about a couple of large posters. I like to make posters up, and I have two made now of the significant battles. One is the Battle of Quebec, and the other is the Second Battle of Saratoga. And the men who fought, with the exception, of course, Montgomery did not make it to the Second Battle of Saratoga, where he was killed in Quebec. But Colonel Morgan, who was Tim Murphy's commander, and Arnold, who was wounded in Quebec, and was captured, no less than Morgan, were captured and repatriated, and of course broke their vows never to fight again, and showed up at the Second Battle of Saratoga, and in turn turned the tables.
Well, it is, just think everyone, we can hear these wonderful stories. They're going to be abundant at Heritage Days. So please, please consider bringing your children and your grandchildren. And I can't thank all of you enough for everything you do to bring history and to make it alive. Thank you so much for taking time of your busy days to come and be with us. And thank all of you for watching Anderson Community Television. I'm Carol Donahue saying farewell until next time.